What's up? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to teach you some of my favorite exercises for improving your mobility, your motor control, and your strength with your feet. Are you ready? Let's get into it. This first exercise that I'm going to show you is called a Flexion-Extension Foot Wave. So here's what you're going to do. I think it's probably best to do this seated at first. You can be on the floor or you can be on a chair or a bench like I am. And what you're going to do is take your hands, just place them underneath your leg so that you have some support, right? You shouldn't have to feel like you need to lift your leg right now. And what you're going to do to start is you're going to pull your foot up, and that's called dorsiflexion. So I'm pulling my foot up towards my forehead as far as it will go, and this is going to be where I begin in terms of position. So from here, the goal is to curl my toes as much as I can without losing the dorsiflexion. And now, maintaining the curled toes, I'm going to point my foot as far as I can, trying not to lose the curling of my toes. Once I've gone as far as I can, I extend my toes, but notice how I'm still pointing my foot. And then, while keeping the toe extension, I pull my foot all the way back into dorsiflexion as far as it will go, and now I repeat. So I curl while keeping the ankle dorsiflexion, point while keeping the toes curled, go as far as I can, keep the foot pointed now, extend the toes, and return. Okay, so probably got to shake it out even just after a couple of reps. It's intense, and you'll feel every muscle working as you do this. So now what we can do, and let me show you from the side. Now what we can do is kind of reverse that. Okay, so we started here, we curled, we pointed, we extended, and then we came back, okay? Now what I want you to do is start with toe extension, so pull your toes towards your forehead, and now I'm going to point while maintaining the extended toes. Go as far as you can. Once you've gone as far as you can, you'll feel that as a calf contraction. You're now going to curl your toes. Maintaining the curled toes, you're now pulling your foot back up, getting as much ankle dorsiflexion as possible, and then extend the toes. Point, curl, pull, all the way back, okay? Really, really tricky to do. And guess what? You're going to cramp, and I don't want to hear about it. Can I say that? Yeah, I can say that. It's my video. I don't want to hear about your cramps. Here's all joking, joking put aside. Everyone says they cramp with this. It's just kind of part of it. It's no big deal. What you're going to find with practicing this over time is that as you get better at contracting your muscles, your ability to contract harder and harder and harder at end range of motion will improve, and you'll find that over time the cramps will go away. So let's actually look at this one more time, because something that I want to point out is that once you get more comfortable with this, you can do it a little less methodically than I demonstrated. I really like doing it that way because I like focusing on hard contractions with my foot. But once you get good at this, you can kind of get a bit more flowy with it, where now instead of stopping, you can kind of get this wave-like action going where there's no real stopping, it's always constantly moving, and you're still moving through your fullest range of motion, still contracting your muscles, but you'll find that it's more wave-like, and hence why we call this a foot wave, okay? So this is a great exercise. Obviously, you would do this on both feet, and the goal is to be able to move your toes and your foot through its fullest range of motion, and over time build your ability to contract pretty hard at that end range of motion. This next exercise is very straightforward, extremely subtle, and very difficult to do. So it's called toe spreads. And what you're basically going to be doing, and I have some different stances that we're going to be doing it in, but if my hand is actually representing my foot, what we're actually going to be doing is spreading all of our toes as wide as possible and placing them on the ground, and then kind of lifting them again and closing them. So we're trying to spread them and close them again. And this is something that most people have never tried to do. And what's going to happen is you're going to look at your foot and you're going to say, all right, foot, I know exactly what I want you to do, and your foot is just not going to do it. And so you will feel pretty immediately that kind of the brain-body connection is not working so good, and that's all the more reason to practice this, because the motor control that's involved with being able to spread your toes is super important for having good foot strength and very important for overall total body stabilization. So here we go. You're going to step into a forward 45 lunge. Okay, so I'm just kind of stepping into this lunge at a diagonal. Most of my body weight is right here. And what you're going to do is lift your toes, spread them apart as wide as they will go, and then you're going to place them back down on the mat. And we're just working, in this case, on my left, except I felt my right foot do it too. And you're probably going to experience that too, is that the motor control is so difficult to do this on one side that your other foot might try to come in and play with it at the same time, because that's kind of helping you learn. Try to tell that foot, hey, don't do anything, man. You're not involved in this exercise at the moment. We're working on this left foot. So once again, now that I've spread them, I'm going to lift them and close them. Okay, so you're bringing them together. So lift, spread. Really try to contract the muscles that you feel spreading them, and then lift and close. Okay, and you might do that, say, 5 times, just working through your fullest range of motion, trying to get a more and more toe spread each time. Okay, so you would work that here in this forward 45 lunge, and then you would get into a lateral lunge. Now, these stances that I'm going to show you are going to seem pretty subtle, but you'll be amazed because the stances are slightly different and they require just different stabilization and different motor control for holding the position. It's totally different feeling when you work through the different stances, but do the same move. So I'm here in this lateral lunge, all my weight's here. I'm going to spread, lift, and close. And I'm just working through that again, really trying hard to move through my fullest range of motion. There we go. And then I return. And now my last stance is going to be what we call a posterior 45 lunge. So I've stepped back at a diagonal and I've loaded my back leg. And this is the hardest of all of the stances. So with my heel on the ground, okay, I know I'm in a good lunge, a good posterior 45 lunge. If my heel's on the ground, my knee is bent, and this leg is starting to fatigue because, oddly enough, it's very difficult to kind of hold that position. And now what you're going to try to do is spread, which wasn't the best, but I got a little bit of spread, and now bring them back together, okay? Same idea, working through full range of motion, trying to get as much spreading as possible. What I'm noticing is it's a lot harder for me in my, around my last 2 toes. The small toe is having a hard time. So I'm just going to try to really focus on that. Once I get kind of a little more comfortable with the coordination, I want to lengthen up, make sure I'm in good posture here. And ultimately you get good at this so that you don't need to rely on looking at the body part that's moving, right? That's kind of an example of using visual information to help with proprioception. It's a great learning tool, but eventually you want to be able to create the movement and express the coordination and the mobility and the strength without having to rely on your visual system. So that's the basic toe spreads in these lunge stances, a forward 45, a lateral, and a posterior 45 lunge. Work up to, say, 5 repetitions on each foot in each stance, and whew, you will feel that. There'll be a lot of muscles burning in your legs. Last but not least is the ball of foot circle. This is one of my all-time favorites just as a general mobility drill. personally, I've had a ton of benefits from practicing this over the years. What you're going to do is step into that same forward 45 lunge that we used for the toe spreads, where most of my weight now is on this forward leg. And you're going to lift your heel up off the floor just a little bit. We want it hovering. And the idea is to take your midfoot through a circular motion. So that looks like this. And I'll change my angle a couple of times for you because I know this is such a small motion. It's going to be hard to see on camera. So what I'm trying to do is take my midfoot through a circle. And as I, in this case, roll inward, so as far in of that circle as I can, my heel is still up. I now have most of the pressure or weight kind of at the base of my big toe. And then I simply lift my heel up a little higher. And now I roll across the base of each toe all the way to the small toe side. And you'll notice that like the arch of my foot is contracting and shortening. And then my heel comes down, but it doesn't touch the ground. And then I roll all the way in again. Okay, so it's literally the midfoot that we're trying to take through this circular motion. And it's a small movement and it's very subtle. Let me show you a different angle because I really want you to be able to see what the arch of my foot is doing. It's really critical. So here we are, start position with my heel up. I'm going to roll in as far as I can. Okay, notice how my arch has lengthened, right? It's stretching and most of the pressure or weight that I feel is more towards the big toe side of my foot. Heel comes up, I roll across the base of each toe all the way to the small toe side. Look at the arch of my foot now. It's shortening, right? It's really contracting. And now my heel comes down. It doesn't fully make contact with the ground. It's still hovering. And now I roll in again, up, across, and back down. And when you put that together, a little bit slower, or smoother, I should say, you have this circular motion happening with the midfoot. Now I can change directions where now I'm down low, my arch is contracted, the weight is at the base of my small toe, my heel comes up, I roll across the base of each toe, now my arch is lengthening again, I'm now on the big toe side of the foot, heel comes down. All right, and so then I put that together and I have this circular motion creating what we call the ball of foot circle, okay? Whew, shake it out. You'll feel lots of muscles working. Literally, you will feel fatigue through your whole leg trying to do that. I'm gonna switch over now to my right side. And let's see, let me show you again angled like this. Now, this is an important part. Actually, I'm gonna turn back this way because when I'm doing a ball of foot circle, it's really important that you notice my knee is for the most part staying right here, okay? The common mistake is people start basically doing a knee circle because they're moving their hip, their knee starts moving to the inside or the outside. And this really defeats the purpose of what we're trying to do. We're trying to get super isolated to the midfoot. So in order to do that, your knee has to stay put, which means that your hip should not move. There might be a little movement, I understand that. You'll see maybe a little bit when I'm demonstrating, but what I don't want is a lot, okay? So I'm trying my best to stay stable here, and as I create that circular motion with my midfoot, what's required of me to do that is something called tibial rotation. So tibial rotation is your ability for your shin to actually rotate. And tibial rotation is involved in this, and the rotation of your shin will kind of give you more and more access to the different sides of the circle. So the knee is stationary as much as you can keep it stationary, and then you'll notice that like I can actually see that like right there I've rotated, right, my tibia, and then right there my tibia is rotated to kind of accommodate what my foot is trying to do, okay, and I can go both directions. All right, now, Demonstrating this the whole time, I've been leaning over with lousy posture, watching my foot because it's hard to do. Here's what you need to know when you put this into practice. Over time, as you get more comfortable with this coordination, lengthen up. Make sure you're in good alignment and good posture, and then you want to be able to perform a nice ball of foot circle without needing to look at your foot. That's really key for your practice, because eventually we don't want you to have to rely completely on your visual system to coordinate the movement. So that's the ball of foot circle. That is a great one. It just is really awesome for moving your joints, and it's a very athletic exercise because being able to find those angles, right, allows you to put more force into the ground, okay? And that's really, really important for athletic performance. All right, there it is. I hope you enjoyed this lineup of exercises, and I really hope that you put this into practice. Now remember, this is not just something that you do once, check the boxes, and move on. This is about treating the exercises like a skill, actually pushing yourself to get better at them. As you're gonna find out pretty quickly, all three of these exercises are difficult for people, and you're going to have to put this into a practice 2 times a week, 3 times a week, whatever. Make every day foot day, and you're going to reap the benefits of this very quickly. You may be able to expect improvements in pain that you're feeling, improvements in mobility and motor control with your foot. You might experience that your balance and your stability gets better. There are a lot of wonderful benefits to improving the health of your foot and improving the way that you are able to move with your foot. So if you like this video, please give it the thumbs up. And if you have any questions about the exercises, certainly ask those questions in the comments, because I'd love to hear from you and I'd love to help you out. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. It really helps. All right, that's it. We'll see you again next time.